the other side of the world, really, over near Bondi Beach in Australia. And you might think, well, great, former TV presenter and model and DJ, and now living the life of it over in Australia. Well, yeah, maybe part of it is true, but there's a whole other side to Michelle's recent story, anyhow, because she has struggled to become a mother again, and that struggle left her mental health in a really bad place, and she actually spent time in rehab. And hopefully now Michelle can join us on the show. Michelle.
Oh, technology, John, I'm here.
It's wonderful. It's good to see you again. How are you doing?
I know, you too. I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
Of course, you're very far away around the northwest today, aren't you?
Yeah, we're spreading our wings wide today.
And yeah.
Anyhow, it's good to see you again. We chatted on the show way back before you moved to Australia. What prompted the move to Australia in the first place?
Actually, it was my partner. He got a job over here, so I was like, oh, great. I mean, I visited Australia, I'd say years and years ago. Never thought I'd ever want to live at the other side of the world, but you know what, an amazing opportunity came up for us. So we just said, right, let's just go for it and see how we get on. And thankfully, have settled on really well over here, and actually only recently became Australian citizens. So, yeah, so that's a very big privilege for us, to be honest with you. We're very lucky to live in a country it's very safe. It's beautiful climate. And yeah, we've made really lovely friends here. So it's been a very nice transition, to be honest.
And what time of the day or night is it there at the minute?
John, it's way past my bedtime tonight. You've no idea what you're doing to me. Well, we're early risers over here, so we're up at like 8, or we're up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. But it's 11:30 here at night now.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks a million.
Things I do for you, John. Things I do for you.
I know. Appreciate it. And so, I mean, you live near Bondi Beach, so you know that sounds fantastic.
Oh, it is absolutely gorgeous. We are a 5-minute walk to Bondi Beach. Yeah, I feel very, very blessed to live here. As you know, I'm a Glengad woman, so I live near the coast myself, and there's something about the energy of living near the sea. And yeah, it's just magical. I still kind of pinch myself going, I can't actually believe I live here. It feels a bit surreal sometimes because it's just so stunning. I've nearly lost my life a few times in Bondi Beach, let me tell you. I've nearly had to put that hand up for the lifeguard to come and get me.
Yeah. Is it when
it's not a beach to play around with, let me just tell you, but it's beautiful. I love it, yeah.
And busy.
Oh, so busy, yeah. It's crazy. Like, no matter if you go down there at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's like the middle of the day. It's just madness. But you just thrive off that kind of energy and that lifestyle. We're just very blessed, yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry to bring the tone down a bit, but it hasn't been all plain sailing, because roll the clock back to 2016, and you were trying for a brother or sister for your son Max. And then over a period of 6 years, you endured 4 miscarriages, and there was 3 failed IVF cycles.
That's correct, yeah.
And that all sounds horrific. And eventually, it took its toll on your mental health. When did you, or how did you eventually come to seek help? You were relying. Did you start taking some drink to help you get through it?
Well, to be honest with you, then so that was just part of the journey, and then we made a decision then to seek an egg donor, because I realized that my eggs were not of good quality anymore, and that was a really tough decision as well, because that meant that I no longer was part of the making of the baby, but I sort of talked myself into, right, it's going to be growing inside my body, and it will hear my voice all the time. It'll be a part of me. It's fine. And then that to me was a no-brainer. So I think that's when I hit the rock bottom, when I was like,
right,
Okay, so I've ruled out my problem. I've sought another eggs, thankfully,
Solution.
egg donor's egg.
Yeah.
I think that's what took the massive toll on me. And then obviously, so we had two transferred pretty quickly in a row, and that was just before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, so we had 2 years of not being able to get back for that final embryo transfer. And then when I went back that final time, I was like, right. Oh, so when you're going through IVF or going through whatever fertility journey you're on, like, while there's hope there, you're going to put yourself through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when that final one didn't work for me, I just went into despair. I just, I thought I was okay at the time, but I obviously wasn't. So I was kind of not relying on drink, but I certainly was abusing alcohol, let's just say, to kind of numb the pain. And also I felt it was maybe in a way I was kind of punishing my body. I felt like it failed me, it let me down. And so then you're just like, oh, sure, what's the point anyway? It doesn't matter. Um, and then I guess, like, I was isolating myself from a lot of people, pretending everything was fine. And then it got to the point where my partner was like, this is not okay. Like, you have to confront what you've been through. It's a lot of grief, a lot of trauma to be through without like pretending everything's fine. And so I went to see a psychotherapist here in London, and I will be forever grateful to this man, because I've been seeing counsellors for years, obviously, with everything that I've been through. But he was the one that actually said, you actually have to deal with this grief and trauma, or it's not going to end well, basically. Um, and explained it in such a lovely way. He was like, you've been treading water for 8 years. And he was like, every time you come back up to the surface, you get pushed back down again. And he said, like, that's not possible to survive that. So, yeah, so he was the one that brought this place to my attention. And normally I'm like, yeah, grand, sure, I look into that. And it was kind of November, so it was coming up to Christmas, and I was like, sure, I look into it after Christmas. But I knew in my heart of hearts that I couldn't keep going the way I was. So I contacted them straight away, and again, very fortunate to live in a country that my health insurance was able to cover it, because it's expensive. And so, yeah, so then I was facing the next obstacle in my life. But very, very fortunate that I had that opportunity. Yeah.
And how long? So you went to him thinking that all you really needed was just a bit of a rest, something maybe
Oh, yeah.
spa weekend or something.
I said to him, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, because I have a habit of like, if I'm upset about something, I'll make myself really busy. So I make loads of jobs for myself, and I was just exhausted trying to cover up the pain and everything. And I was like, I just feel like I need to go on a yoga retreat or something for a weekend. And he was like, a yoga retreat?
Yeah.
Sorry, love, you need more than a yoga retreat. So yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, the yoga retreat was far from what I needed.
So a check-in facility was recommended, and that's what you ended up doing. How long did you stay there?
So I had to go there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, and of course,
this is my first time to be away from my wee boy for that length of time. And also the kind of shame that comes with that. It's like, because obviously I wasn't going into that facility because I had a problem with alcohol. I was going in there because I was using it to deal with the bigger issues, which was my grief and trauma. But you can't help but feel that shame. It's like, and even when I talk about it now, because I know when the newspaper first spoke about this, like, they love to sensationalize things and want to make it a bigger story. But the bigger story was, I was in pain. I had a lot of stuff that I had to deal with, that I was using that as using that as a crutch to sort of numb the pain in the time being. And so, I mean, that was so daunting for me because, like, I think somebody else that I spoke to, they said, like, anytime you think of like a rehab facility, you think of like being taken in from the door, like, with a major alcohol problem, but
Yeah.
it's not like that. It's you're going in there because you're trying to fix yourself and you're trying to make your life better. And I met some incredible people in there that were doing just that as well. So we all were on this journey together, and while it was extremely intimidating at the start because you don't know what to expect, they sort of become your like support network, and you depend on each other, and you have to share your stories in front of like a so you're sectioned off into little groups, and everybody has to deal with their thing in the little group, and they become like
Family.
your little support network basically. Yeah.
Did you find that you met a lot of other people who were, for want of a better description, putting on a brave face?
Yeah, or just because that's what I tend to do. I tend to be this. I'm a front woman, so I'm always like, "Ha!"
Mm-hmm.
And the more pain that I'm in, the more of a performance I can put on. And so yeah, they're hiding behind these big personalities, and then underneath it all, when you strip it all back, there's so much pain underneath that. But I guess that's what we do to try and keep going and try and survive. For better for want of a better word, but it was interesting because there was so many different types of people. Obviously, it's very confidential. You can't talk about certain people, but from all ages, from like older men to young girls who are crippled with anxiety and underlying issues or whatever. But it all stems from a pain that we can't deal with ourselves, so we need to find an outlet to deal with it, or go to a facility like this that they can help us take everything apart and sort of understand why we behave in a certain way, or why we are doing what we're doing. And yeah, it was extremely interesting, and I took a lot from it, in understanding why I was behaving the way I was as well.
Yeah. Just isolating the IVF cycles, those in themselves, the hope and the expectation, and then everything that you do to try to make it happen, and the things that you put on hold, and then just to have your hopes and dreams dashed, and to have that over and over again. I mean, for you there was 3 failed cycles. So those in themselves, aside from the miscarriages, really, really hard to process and really hard to deal with.
Very hard to accept. I never, like, when I explain it, like as a little girl or as a little boy, I don't know. You have this kind of blueprint or this idea of what you want your life to be, and I never wanted Max to be an only child, and I love children, and they just gravitate towards me, and I could never accept that I was only going to be able to do this once. Not that I'm very lucky; he's 1 in a million, my wee Max. But yeah, and even to this day, I still can't accept what's after happening. But I'm learning to deal with it a bit better than I did. But yeah, it's just, and you know what? It's this emotional roller coaster that your hopes are so high, and you'll put yourself through anything. And unfortunately, that a lot of the times that's the problem, because you don't know when to say no. That's enough. Enough is enough. Obviously, my family were worried about me. Mark's family were worried about me. My friends were worried about me. But you can't say no until you've got nothing else to give. Like, it's literally where there's hope, you're going to put yourself through anything. Yeah. And so that's that constant roller coaster of hope versus despair, and it's just,
and then I suppose it's also about taking ownership of the issues, realizing that you need help, and then having to tell friends and family, and that can take its toll too.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying. It's like the shame that comes with it. Like I've always been very outspoken about when things aren't okay with me, because I feel like, if at least if you talk about things, then you can get the help that you need. Because I remember having postnatal depression after I had Max, and that was really difficult because everything's pretty taboo. Like, it's not talked about. We know it's there, but
Mm.
people don't talk about it because, oh God, you don't want anybody to think, Jesus, you're not okay. You have to be on medication because you're not okay. And then the miscarriages, and then the IVF, and that in itself is so invasive. Like, you're sticking a needle in your body morning and nighttime, and you're in the hands of this medication. And I just I've like, there is a lot of shame that comes with that, but I'm one of these people. It's like, you know what, I'll deal with the shame as long as I'm able to get help, rather than suffering in silence and not being a very good outcome. And so that's why I speak about these things, because the amount of women that have reached out to me going, you've no idea, like, your article or your interview or whatever has done for my family, or my network, my family support system, to kind of have a tiny glimpse of what I'm going through, because you just get on with it. And the other thing that I took great comfort in was, like, I've had a few elderly ladies reach out to me saying thank you, because I did speak about that, saying, like, this is not just happening now. This happened years ago, when it was like, you'd be grand, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
brushed aside like it was nothing. It's not nothing. The minute you see that, or the minute you know that you're pregnant, you've already got carried away with what this little human being's going to be like, how they're going to fit into your family. And then when it doesn't happen, it's not something you just go, sure, grand, sure, it wasn't meant to be.
Mm.
It's part of your life. And they say that there's not a day goes past that they don't think about that little one.
Yeah.
And so I think the comfort that I've taken out of telling the story, because it is like, you're extremely vulnerable when you're telling stuff like this, because you're opening up your heart and your soul, and you're just being extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And to know that people are getting some sort of comfort from it, or that they get to allow their partner or their mother or their father to have a tiny glimpse of what's going on for them, is really is the reason that I tell the story.
And the stay there and the therapy, uh, a game changer, but not a magic wand.
No, definitely not. Every day is a day, a day, one step forward every day. And there's days where I can go back to being down, but it's okay. I've learned to know that I can sit with the feeling, that I'm allowed to sit with the feeling if I'm not okay with it. I'm like, to be honest with you, John, I was very angry. And you spoke there briefly about, you're watching other people getting on with their lives and able to get pregnant, have
Mm.
big family, and you're like, sorry, what? How does this work?
Yeah.
And
Why?
you can't help
Why not
that
me?
anger and that resentment that builds up inside of you as well. So it's learning to sort of sit with that. That's okay. You're allowed to feel like that today, but you're not allowed to stay and to wallow in it. You have to learn to sort of deal with it. So I guess my little things that I put in place are, I try and do a bit of meditation. I definitely have to go for my walks on the beach every day, get out into the fresh air, but also learn to ask for help. Like, I know there'll be people listening today who are on this journey right now, and just to kind of maybe go on a Facebook group, or something that they have, an outlet that they can express how they're feeling, that some people might understand what they're going through. And in every walk of life, not just for me, not just for my personal story, but for, if you're suffering with depression, if you're not in a good place, please don't deal with it on your own. You're not equipped to deal with it on your own. There's people out there, thankfully, that are trained to know how to guide you through this, and point you in the right direction.
Yeah. And you were lucky enough in that you found You found the right one, you found the right place and the right one, and you're actually passing some of that knowledge on now. Is that correct? In that
That's
you're
correct.
training to be a counsellor.
So after my experience in the hospital, in the facility, I don't know. They changed so many people's lives while I was just there, and I was just there for 3 weeks, and I will never forget what they've done for me. And so it inspired me then to go on. And now I'm studying to be a counsellor. And if I could just give a tiny little bit of back of what they give to me, I'll be very, very lucky. Yeah.
So next time I'm chatting to you, you'll have a whole pile of letters after your name.
Oh, let's not get carried away now, John. But it's not even about that. It's just, oh my God, if I could just, and especially, I'd especially like to help kind of young people, because I feel like it's a scary wee world that our children are growing up in at the minute. Thankfully, that wasn't around when we were kids. So it's very hard. It's a hard little life to navigate at the minute. So if I can just try and provide some little coping mechanisms for them, or just provide them with an outlet to talk, a safe place to talk, I feel like I'll do something to make a difference in their life. Yeah.
I think you have for many, because given your profile and then how open you've been about these issues and about the problems that you've had and how you sought help, and as you referenced there, there's a lot of people who are going to be on a similar journey and maybe listening now and taking comfort and solace from what you've been saying. Michelle, good to talk to you. It's
Can I also say one more thing, John? Sorry, and I know this is, I don't know if there's younger girls listening as well. So when I speak to younger girls, sort of in their early 30s, and they haven't met anybody, I always say, girls, please consider freezing your eggs, because the most mind-blowing thing for me that I learned along this journey is a woman is actually born with the amount of eggs that she's going to have for life. And it's actually terrifying. And I know it might be expensive, but, unfortunately, we don't meet the man that we're going to, or the partner we're going to be with very early on. And then, and that's what's happened to me. I didn't meet Mark till I was 36. And I thought I had all the time in the world, and it turned out I didn't. So it's just a wee bit of advice that I'd like to give as well.
Okay. Freeze those eggs.
Freeze those eggs, guys.
Yes, yeah. All right, Michelle. Good to connect with you. You can go off to bed now, seeing as you're going to.
I go to bed now.
Yes,
I feel a little dressed up. I need to go somewhere now. I'm going to bed. Don't worry.
Into the jammies.
Nice to talk to you, John.
Yeah,
you take care.
Yeah, likewise.
Hello, Danny Ball. I love you.
Yeah, I never. When was the last time? Do you get over to Glengad much? Do you get back home much?
Sure. I was home. What are you talking about? I was home in September, and I was home in December.
For heaven's sake.
Yeah, and I just had my parents here for 3 weeks, so it was amazing.
Great,
yeah.
Great. Well, listen, good to see you and good to talk to you again, Michelle. Look after yourself.
Thanks, Mom.
Bye.
All right, you too. Take care.
Enter the Virgin Media Playhouse for unbelievable value from Ireland's